Hello YouTubers. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to knit these cute, adorable baby booties. This was a request from Sandy Doob. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. These booties will fit a newborn straight from the hospital or a preemie. And this I made in this color for a little boy, and the yarn I used is sport yarn, 100% acrylic. It's a very soft yarn for babies. And for this one, so let me show you the items that you need. You will need the yarn, and this is the same thing. It's 100% acrylic sport yarn in a pink. I'm going to do that. And you need size 4 knitting needles. These are my metal ones, but it's a little bit too long for me to demonstrate, so I'm using my double pointed plastic needles, 3.50 millimeters US 4 for this. And you need scissors. You need a tapestry needle and the yarn, and I use a pen and paper to mark off my rows. And this baby booty only consists of 20 rows, so it's very quick and easy to whip up. And the instruction says that you can also use the Caron Simply Soft for this. It's really a nice soft yarn for babies, but I'm going to use this one. So let's get started. So it's out of my way. So what you want to do is, first thing is to make your slip knot. Make it any way that you like to make your slip knots. And you want to cast on 30 stitches. And this is the way I do my cast on. I put my yarn like this, and I wrap it around my 2 fingers, spread my 2 fingers apart, and then I take my needle and I go under and up between the two pieces of yarn, and then I just release and my working yarn to tighten it. And you do that for 30 stitches. 9, and again I wrap it around, go in between my 2 fingers, under, up, through, and pull it, and that's 30. I always like to recount my stitches just to make sure that I have the right amount of stitches on here. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I have 30 stitches on here now. Now let's start with row 1. Row 1 through 8 is you're going to do what is called a garter stitch, and that means you just knit every single stitch on every single row, and we do that for 8 rows. So let me show you how to do that. Here's your stitch. You go for knit stitch, you go from the left side to the right side. So you insert your needle from the left, you go into your loop you have on here, and so your right working needle will be pushed to the back. So it looks like you have an X. So what you want to do is, this is how I hold my needles to make sure I don't lose a stitch. I hold it like this. I take my working yarn, I bring it around my needle that I inserted, which was my right hand needle, in between the needles, and then I pull my working yarn down. Then what you want to do, I use my index finger to help me push the needle through the loop. And now I have the loop on my left needle and the loop on my right needle. Then I use my right index finger and I push the loop on the left off, and then I pull the working strand to tighten my stitch. And that's, you just knitted, you transferred the stitch from the left to the right needle. Let me show you again. You insert, and if you feel tight, then you can just use your index finger and just like loosen, push your stitch and it will loosen up to where you can be able to stick your needle in. Again, from the left to the right, insert the needle into the loop. Your needle will be underneath your left hand needle. Hold it tight. Grab your working yarn, bring it around the right hand needle, down in between the two needles. Use your index finger to help you push your needle through, and now you have one stitch here and one stitch on your left. Now you use your right index finger to help you push off the loop on the left, and then you tighten the stitch. So let me show you one more time, and then I'll go off camera and I'll do my 8 rows and come back when I have the 8 rows on. Again, from the left to the right, insert it in your loop. You have your needles crisscrossed, you're right to the back. Wrap your yarn around, down, pull it tight through in between the two needles. Take your index finger, push the needle through your loop. So now you transfer the loop onto your right. Take your index finger, push your loop on your left needle off, and then tighten. Okay, ladies, I will come back when I have my 8 rows to show you what it looks like. I am finishing up here my 8th row, and this is how it will look like. This is called the garter stitch. So let me go ahead and show you again how you do the knit stitch. So you take your working needle from the left to the right into your stitch. Take your working yarn, and your right needle is underneath your left needle. You take your working yarn counterclockwise around your right hand needle. Pull your yarn down tight through to hold the stitch here. Then you take your index finger and use it to help push your needle through, see, like this, through the loop, and then use your right index finger to help you push off the left hand needle, and you just transferred your stitch over. So let me finish up this row, and this is our 8th row. So just wanted to come back and show you how to do that again. So finish off my last few stitches here, and then we'll move on to row 9. Okay, my last stitch, turn my work, switch hands. Okay, now row 9 is a little bit tricky because we have some new stitches and stuff in here. So let me show you. Let's get started on row 9. Now I'll go ahead and read you the pattern for row 9 so you will have it, and then I'll show you how to do it. Row 9 is you knit 12, and then you knit 2 stitches together, and that is abbreviated as K2TOG. Then you knit 2, then you slip 1 stitch, which means you just pass the needle stitch from the left onto your right, and then you knit 1, and then you pass your slip stitch over your knitted 1 stitch that you just did, and then you knit 12, and let me show you how you do that. So we knit 12, our usual knitting, so that's 1, this is my last one, that's 12. Now we knit 2 together, and how we knit 2 together is we take the next 2 stitches, and we're just going to put our working needle through both of them, so we make sure we have both of them on there, and then you just knit the regular way, round counterclockwise, pull it down through, use your index finger to help you push through, and then use this index finger to push the 2 stitches off, and that's called knit 2 together. Now you want to knit the next 2 stitches, 1, 2. Now here's where our slip stitch is. You're going to put your needle in as if you're going to knit, and then just push off and transfer it to this needle. You don't knit it, you don't have it. Now, then you knit the next stitch, so you go ahead and knit that one. Now, you take your slip stitch that you slipped, you insert your left hand needle from the left side to the right side of your second stitch on your needle here, which is your slip stitch, and then you just want to use your index finger to help you push it up and over, and then you take your right hand needle and pull it through your slip stitch and then off the needle. And that is called PSO, which means pass slip stitch over. Okay? And then now you just want to knit the remainder 12. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And you just knit your regular knitting. I think the knitting needle companies need to invent a pair of knitting needles that you can adjust the length on. That would be really neat to have. So, okay, that completes row 9. Let me mark it off. Now we're ready for row 10. Now row 10 is, I'm going to introduce you into a purl stitch. And the purl stitch is a little bit different. So in the purl stitch now, what you want to do, let me read you the whole row 10, what you do. You purl 11, purl 2 together, knit 2, slip stitch 1, then you want to purl 1, then you pass your slip stitch over your purl 1 you did, and then you purl the remainder 11. So let me show you how you purl. Now, knitting, we went from the left to the right. Purl, we go from the right to the left. And it will be crisscrossed this way. So your right hand needle will be angled up towards your left hand. You do the same thing. You take your working yarn, counterclockwise around, down through, in between the two needles, hold it tight, and you use your index finger to help you push it through, and then you use your right hand index finger to push it off the left hand needle. And that's how you do a purl. Now we want to do that for 11 stitches. So if I can get it in through, and your working yarn is in the back, so wrap it around, pull it through, down, push it off, push it through, and then push it off. So that's 2, and this is 3, 4, let me slow it down again. Insert your hook from the right to the left, and it will be in the back of your right hand, your left hand needle. Take your working strand of yarn, counterclockwise around your right hand needle, down through, in between the two needles, hold it tight, use your left index finger to help you push your needle with your working yarn through, and then you have that one there and you have that stitch there. Use your index finger to help you push off your stitch on your left hand needle. So that is 2, 4, 5, 6, and if you notice, what we're doing is decreasing. Now let me fix my stitch before I lose it. Okay, it's not going to work, so we just go back, put it back on. If you find you can't do it, just put that stitch, if you can, back on, and then just redo it. So that was 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, now we're ready to purl 2 together, and it's the same thing as the knit. You just go from, you're purling, so you go from behind and you go into 2 stitches, if you can see, 2 stitches, and then you just wrap the yarn around, pull it down in between, pull your needle through, make sure you hold your working yarn tight so you can pull your yarn through both of those loops, and then you just push it off those 2 loops off, and there you have it. That's the purl 2 together. Now you're going to knit 2, not purl, knit. So remember, you go from the left side to the right, wrap around counterclockwise, down in between, pull it tight, push it through, pull it off. You do that twice, 2 stitches. Then you go back to purling. So you want to slip your stitch from your left needle to the right. You just insert it and then just pull the left one off. Now you want to purl 1. And now you want to pass your slip stitch over your purl 1. So, and this doesn't matter how you want to do it, but you just put it from the left side up, lift your stitch kind of up so you can push it up over and pull this through and release. And now you should have 11, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 stitches left, and you purl the remaining 11. So you go in from the right side to the left, your needle is in the back, wrap it around, pull it through, pull it down tight, push your needle through, and then push your stitch off. And you do that for the, if I can get this one, the remainder of the stitches. So let me, okay, got that one fixed. Complete my 11 stitches. Okay, I've completed my 11 stitches. Now, let me mark off row 10. Now we're ready for row 11. And row 11, we go back to the knitting, because this is our right side of our work. So let me get some more yarn. So, now the pattern for that is knit 10, knit 2 together, knit 2, slip stitch 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over the knitted 1, and then knit 10. So, let's go ahead and knit 10. I think you know how to do it, so I will do this row, and then I will come back when I have completed this row. 12, and row 12 is a purl row. So this is the row. This is what you do on row number 12. You purl 9, knit. Ladies. You purl 9, purl 2 together, knit the next 2 stitches, slip 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch, pass the slip stitch over your purl 1, and then you purl the remainder 9. So you purl, going from the right to the left, wrap it around counterclockwise down between and pull it through and then off the needle. I will do this row and then I will come back and show you row number 13, what you do when I've completed row number 12. Completed row 12, and now we're ready to move on to row 13. And the instructions for row 13 is knit 8, knit 2 together, knit 2, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over the knitted 1, and then knit the remainder 8. And I forgot to tell you, ladies, here, when you are knitting, you hold your working yarn to the back, and when you do the purl, you bring the yarn to the front, and I will show you that when I do the next row, because the next row is the last row of this set, and it is a purl row. So we're ready for 13 here, so we knit the 8, so this is 1, 2, 3, and as you see, I'm holding the work in the back, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So our next thing was we knit the 2 together. So we take the 2 stitches, put our needle in between the 2 stitches, wrap around, pull it down through, pull it through, and then off the needle. And that was knit 2 together. Now we knit the next 2 stitches, so that's 1 and 2, and then we slip 1 stitch, so we just slip it without knitting it. Then we knit the next stitch, and then we pass the slip stitch, remember, from left to the right, up over the knitted stitch, and then down off, and then we knit the remainder 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. And that completes row number 13. So let me finish this, and then we'll move on to row 14, the purl, and I will show you what I mean by where the yarn front or the back. So this completes, this is my last stitch. So this completes row 13. I take my pen, I mark off my row, because if I don't, I will forget what row I'm on, add too many, not have enough. So now we're ready for the row 14, which is a purl row. So it's purl 7, purl 2 together, knit 2, slip 1 stitch, purl 1, pass the slip stitch over the purl 1 stitch, and then purl the remainder 7. So let me show you how we do that. Now with the purl, your yarn is in the front, not behind, but not behind like in our knitting. It should be in the front for your purl. So let me go ahead, purl the 7. Remember, you insert your knitting needle from the right to the left. Take your working yarn around your right hand needle, pull it down, and then you push through and off. I think I showed you wrong, ladies, in the other one. But either way, this method or that method of the purl, it works the same. So insert it from the left to the right, around your needle, pull it tight and down. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the last one, 7. Now what we're going to do is purl the 2 together, hold it like this, around, pull it down, push it through, and then off. Then we purl that. Now the knit, we have to do the knit too. So now you got to bring your yarn to the back of the needle. See, it was here in front. Now we'll bring it to the back, and we knit 1, 2. Now we bring our yarn back to the front to continue the purl. So we slip the 1 stitch, we purl 1. Then we pass our slip stitch over the purl 1, and then we purl the remainder 7. 2, 4, 6, 7. So we purl the remainder 7. Okay, and if this is a little bit confusing and I kind of confused you, just send me a message or post a comment down here below on this video, and I will try to explain it, or I might make another video of just the knitting and the purl sequence, how you do it, if people are interested. And this is just for beginners. I know the experienced knitters will already know how to do the basic knit and purl. Okay, so we cross off number 14. Now comes the easy part. Rows number 15 through 20, we go back to our garter stitch where we knit every single stitch on every single row. So, I think you know how to do that already, ladies. So I will come back when I have my 6 rows knitted for the garter stitch, which is rows 15 through 20. I'll come back when I have that completed and show you how we finish up the booty. Okay, ladies, I've completed my 6 rows, which was rows 15 through 20 of the garter stitch, which was knit every stitch, knit every row. Now we are ready to do the bind off, and that is abbreviated as BO. So what you want to do is since you are knitting, so you just knit your first stitch, you knit your second stitch, and now you have 2 on your right hand needle. You, as if you're doing a your pass slip stitch over, that's how you do your bind off. You just take your first stitch that you did and you insert your hook from the left to the right, lift it up, hold on to your working yarn so it doesn't slip off. Use your index finger to help you push it through, and then you slip that stitch off. And you do that all the way down. So you have your 1 stitch there, you knit the next stitch, you take your first stitch, and you pass it over the stitch that you just worked. So you're always having just 1 stitch. So you knit 1 and then you slip your first stitch over that stitch. So let me go ahead and finish this off. So just bind it over. That's called bind over, bind off. Or some people call it, you'll see it abbreviated like CO, cast off. But I like calling it bind off because you are removing your stitches. You're finishing your edge. And if you notice here, well, let me do a few more so you can see my edge a little bit better. So, sometimes it's a little bit tricky because you don't want to lose any stitches. But there is a solution if you slip a stitch off and you don't catch it. You can take a crochet hook, and once you find your stitch, you could just hook it as if you are knitting it, pull each strand through each loop and bring it back up and put it back on your knitting needle. Whoops, started to curl that. So let's finish off the few binds off here, and then I'll show you what the edge looks like when it's completely binded off. A few more stitches here. And then all we have to do is weave in our tail and then sew up our seam on our booty and then turn it right side out, and we have completed a knitted baby booty. I have another pattern for a different style of a baby booty. It's knitted, and I will show you that when I'm done here. If anybody is interested in wanting a tutorial on how to make that one, just leave a comment below and I will make a tutorial and show you how to do that one. Okay, so now we have it binded off, so let's go ahead and just pull that up so we don't need our knitting needles anymore. And if you notice here, this is how the bind off stitches look like. It makes it a nice, neat, clean edge. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut like about a 12-inch tail, long enough so we can sew. And then like all work, you crochet or knit, you take your working strand of yarn and pull it through your last stitch, and you pull that tight, and there we go. Now we take our tapestry needle. Okay, now you will notice, see how it kind of puckers here, because that is from our knit two together. So this is you fold it like this, and you can see it just naturally, you can see it naturally. This is the right side, and these are the wrong side where it bows caves in. That's the wrong side, and that's the side you want to turn it because you want to sew your right sides together. But first, let's take our cast on tail, And let's weave that in so we can get it out of the way. I always like to weave in my work. And you can either weave it in through the bottom seam or up the side. And I just like to weave it up the side. So you just weave it up the side under some stitches, pull it tight. But you want to pull it tight, but then you want to, you know, stretch out your stitches a little bit to relax that string. Trim the string. Now, remember this is the right side. We want to sew with the right sides together, so the wrong side is facing us. Let's get my needle, let's thread it. Oops. Okay. The best way I find, easiest way, is wrap your yarn like this around the needle, pinch it tight, pull it off, and usually it goes through fairly easy and quick. There you go. So now what we want to do now, we have to, the wrong sides, this is the wrong side. We want to sew the right sides together so we can turn it inside out. Ready to sew it together. So this is the wrong side and this is the right side. Or you can choose, really, it doesn't really matter because you can. So now what we want to do is we got to sew up this seam and the bottom, across the bottom. So we turn our work, make sure you have everything all lined up, and then you just do a whip stitch across the two pieces here to sew them together. And make sure you do have it lined up so you do have a nice seam down the back. And it doesn't take no time at all to whip these up or to sew them together. So you could sit down in an hour and you can probably make 2 or 3 of these knitted if you are inexperienced or intermediate knitter. You can whip them out really quick. But for a beginner, you can probably, if you pick it up fast, you can do it, you know, you can make them in left and right. So these would be great for gifts for newborn babies, or even to do for the hospitals, for the neonatal unit, or the labor and delivery department. Be wonderful, and the mother get a nice little gift. So let me finish sewing across the bottom, and you want to make it a nice seam across the bottom. Okay, let me pull these together. You go pick up one loop from this side and one loop from that side, and you just sew it together. You do the whip stitch. Okay, I'm almost to the end. A couple more stitches. Okay, now I'm to the end. Now to end it, what you want to do is you just take your working yarn and run it under a few of your whip stitches that you just did to sew them. You don't want to go into the booty underneath, because then you'll see your string when you flip it. So you just want to go up under your whip stitches that you did to secure this string. Done with the needle, you know, stretch it out, cut your yarn. Now you're ready to turn it inside out. Be very careful. You don't want to stretch it out too much. Okay, there we go. Roll the cuff up, and you can even, you know, have a little, roll it down and have a little cuff if you want, or not. But there you go, ladies. We have done knitted booties. So now, ladies, on the pattern I have, it says if you need the boot part here to be longer, all you have to do is just cast on more stitches, but you need to cast it on in a multiple of 2. Like this is 30, so you need to do 32, you know, and then 34, then 36. You know, you always want to do it in a multiple of 2. And then if you continue, you do the decrease as shown, as for the width of the ankle that you want it to be. And then you do the rest of the row of knitting the garter stitch for the cuff, and that's all there is to it. And like I said, ladies, if anybody is interested in learning how to knit this particular style of bootie, just leave a comment below and I will make a tutorial on how to do this one. And this one here, you can fold it down and you have this. And this is for a newborn, and on this one I happen to use the Karen Simply Soft, so it'll fit a newborn's probably up to like a 3-month size. So if anybody's interested, leave a comment below telling me that you want me to do a tutorial on it, and I will do a tutorial on it. But anyway, my next video though, I will show you how I make this cute little pin cushion so you have your pins right at hand whenever you need them and without it tipping or knocking over. So please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with that video soon. Thank you for watching.